I'm Aiden Sanders, and I decided to do my cultural film on the Louvre Museum and the Met Museum. One of the main reasons I decided to do my film on these museums is because I have always been interested in the past. Since museums are essentially huge time capsules of the past, it made perfect sense to pick two of the most culturally rich museums on the planet. Another reason I chose the Louvre and the Met museums is because they are also two of the most well-known and prestigious museums, which is why they both attract millions of visitors each year. They both have incredible collections of paintings and sculptures that span thousands of years. In addition, they also have their own interesting characteristics and significance to French and American cultures. The Louvre Museum is located in Paris, France, and it has a long history that dates all the way back to the 1100s. The Louvre was originally supposed to be a fortress when it was built by King Philip II, but it was later converted into a royal palace by King Charles V in the 1300s. The Louvre served as a residence for the French monarchy for centuries, which cemented its importance to French culture. During that time, the Louvre was expanded and renovated many times. However, during the French Revolution, when citizens began rising up against the monarchy, the Louvre was turned into a museum to display the royal art collection to the public. That brings us to today, and the Louvre is one of the largest and most visited museums in the world, with paintings and sculptures that span over 9,000 years of history. The Metropolitan Museum of Art, also known as the Met, is one of the most famous and largest art museums in the world and is located in New York City. It was founded in 1870 by a group of American citizens who wanted to create a museum that would compete against the great European art museums such as the Louvre. The original museum building, which is located on Fifth Avenue, was opened in 1880 and has been expanded and renovated many times since then. The Met has a very large and diverse collection that spans over 5,000 years and includes paintings, sculptures, and artifacts from Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Despite being fairly young, the Met is considered one of the most important cultural institutions in the United States, which is part of the reason why it attracts millions of visitors every year. The Louvre is widely regarded as the best museum on the planet, and that is because it is home to some of the most famous paintings in the world, each with their own unique historical and artistic significance. The most famous painting in the world resides in the Louvre, and that is the Mona Lisa, which was painted by Leonardo da Vinci in the early 16th century. The painting has captivated people for hundreds of years and is one of the masterpieces of the Italian Renaissance. Another famous painting in the Louvre is the Coronation of Napoleon by Jacques-Louis David, which shows the moment when Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of France in 1804. The painting is a masterpiece in the neoclassical art genre, and it is popular in France because it shows off the power of the French Empire. The painting is still a symbol of the glory and national pride French people felt during the Napoleonic era. The painting, Liberty Leading the People, by Eugène Delacroix, is another famous work housed in the Louvre. The painting depicts the French Revolution of 1830 and portrays a female figure of liberty holding the French flag and leading a group of people over the bodies of dead soldiers. The painting falls into the Romanticism genre, which is a movement that sought to capture the drama and emotion of historical events. The Met Museum houses a large collection of famous paintings that have shaped the course of art history and American history. One such painting is Washington Crossing the Delaware by Emmanuel Lutz, which depicts General George Washington and his troops crossing the Delaware River on their way to win the Battle of Trenton during the American Revolution. Another very famous painting housed in the Met is Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night, which depicts the view from his asylum room in Saint Remy. It is renowned by other artists for its use of color and brushwork. Lastly, The Death of Socrates is a famous neoclassical painting by Jacques-Louis David in the Met's collection, and it depicts the Greek philosopher's sacrifice for the ideals of justice and the state. The painting is a symbol of intellectual integrity and moral courage, which is part of the reason it became popular with American audiences. These paintings all provide a window into the past and offer insights into the artistic and societal trends of their respective eras. The Louvre Museum has an extensive collection of famous sculptures from various historical periods. The most notable is the Venus de Milo, which is an ancient Greek statue of Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. Another iconic sculpture in the Louvre is the Winged Victory of Samothrace, which is an ancient Greek statue of the goddess Nike. The statue depicts her standing on top of a ship with her wings spread as if in mid-flight. Fun fact, the goddess Nike is actually how the company got its name. The Louvre also houses the Great Sphinx of Tunis, a massive statue of the Egyptian mythical creature with the head of a man and the body of a lion. The amount of precision and detail in the sculptures in the Louvre is outstanding. Overall, the Louvre's collection of famous sculptures shows the skill and creativity of the artists throughout history and offers insights into the cultures and civilizations they came from. The Met in New York City is home to many famous sculptures from different time periods and cultures. Some of the most notable ones include the Egyptian Temple of Dender, Ugolino and his sons, and Venus Italica. The Egyptian Temple of Dender sculpture is an ancient temple from Egypt that was constructed around 15 BC and was gifted to the United States in 1965. It has many intricate hieroglyphs on its walls. Ugolino and his sons is a sculpture that was made by the Italian artist Jean-Baptiste Carpeaux in the 1800s. It depicts a nobleman who was imprisoned with his sons and left to starve. The sculpture shows Ugolino in a moment of despair, with his sons holding it onto his legs and body. The detail on this sculpture is incredible. The facial expressions and texture of the clothing are very realistic. Lastly, the Venus Italica sculpture was created by the Italian artist Antonio Canova in the 1700s, and it depicts the goddess Venus. The Venus Italica is considered one of Canova's masterpieces. The sculpture shows Venus standing with her hand holding a cloth. The detail and flow of the marble and the lifelike appearance of Venus is why this is one of the most famous sculptures in the world. The Louvre is culturally important to France for several reasons. As I have already mentioned, it houses one of the most extensive art collections in the world, with over 35,000 pieces of art spanning from prehistory to the present day. The museum houses masterpieces from some of the most celebrated artists in history. The Louvre is also a symbol of French history and culture because of its background as a fortress and royal palace. The changes to the museum's architecture over the years reflects the changing styles and tastes of French rulers over the centuries, which is a subtle glimpse into the history within its walls. Finally, the Louvre serves as a kind of cultural hub for France, as it sits in the middle of Paris and attracts millions of visitors every year. The museum hosts exhibitions and events that promote the country's arts and culture. As we have learned in class, image and grandeur are very important to French culture. The Louvre's importance to France cannot be overstated, as it represents the country's rich artistic history. The Met is culturally important to the United States for several reasons as well. First, it houses one of the largest art collections in the world, spanning over 5,000 years of human history and representing cultures from all over the world. The museum's collection includes some of the most iconic works of art in history, such as Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night, Emanuel Lewitz's Washington Crossing the Delaware, and ancient Egyptian artifacts. The Met is also a symbol of American culture and identity, and it shows our country's commitment to promoting the arts. The museum has lots of events that shows off our country's history as well as the contributions made by other cultures. The Met just recently celebrated its 150th anniversary, and it is no surprise because the museum has stepped into a new role, serving as an educational resource for the United States, consistently offering opportunities for learning to people of all ages and backgrounds. The Met is one of the United States' most important cultural landmarks and will be for centuries to come. The Louvre and the Met are two of the most famous and revered art museums in the world. Although they are located in different countries and have different collections, there are several similarities between the two museums. First, both the Louvre and the Met are renowned for their extensive art collections which span multiple time periods and cultures, as we've talked about. They are home to some of the most iconic works of art in history and attract millions of visitors each year. Second, both museums are housed in historic buildings that reflect the changing tastes and styles of their countries. They are both housed in two of the most famous cities in the world, Paris and New York City. Finally, both the Louvre and the Met are reminders of their country's cultural history. They are landmarks and cultural hubs that offer learning opportunities and life-changing experiences for millions of people every year. While the Louvre and the Met share many similarities, there are also significant differences between the two museums. First, the Louvre is located in Paris, France, while the Met is located in New York City. The difference in location shows in their collections, with the Louvre emphasizing European art and the Met having a more worldwide collection. Second, the Louvre has been around longer than the Met, with a collection that dates back to the 6th century BC, while the Met was founded relatively recently in 1870. This difference in history and collections has influenced the reputation of each museum. Third, the Louvre is a much larger museum than the Met in terms of its space and number of works on display. The Louvre's size and worldwide reputation make it a large, popular cultural destination in Europe, while the Met's focus on modern and contemporary art makes it one of the most popular museums in the Western Hemisphere. Overall, while both the Louvre and the Met are world-renowned museums, their differences in location, history, and collection give each museum a distinct identity and character. Well, this is the end of my cultural film. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something about the immense cultural impacts these two iconic museums have.